No doubt, Johnny is an actor whose films are the easiest to compile for Halloween. Just consider. In his arsenal there is always drunk pirate's captain, or psychopathic killer, or a man who devoted his whole life to chocolate, and apparently made good money on it, or a detective who caught Jack the Ripper, or a Mad Hatter, or a young romantic man. Well, we stop here, otherwise we could devote an entire issue just to listing Depp's roles. However, there is no doubt about one thing: his incredible talent. Any roles Johnny takes on, you believe in the character from the beginning to the end. So, today I'll tell you about 5 films starring Johnny that are suitable for special occasions. There is horror, thrillers, and intricate detective story that will not leave you indifferent. By the way, at the end of watching this video you'll get a bonus. All hands on deck, we start. Let's go! To begin with, I'd like to point out that this is not just a list of films. I played them in a certain order, so starting from my least favorite to my most adored. Thus, this rating is extremely subjective. I love all the films with Johnny Depp, and choosing only 5 of them was quite a task. So let's go! Secret Window is a feature film directed by David Depp, released in 2004. An interesting detail about the film is that the script was based on the Stephen King story Secret Window, Secret Garden, which was published in the collection 4 After Midnight, but Columbia Pictures itself was involved in the release of the film. Film bosses invested $40 million in the production of the film, which made it an American box office. Moreover, the company even earned $8 million, and the worldwide show brought its creators another 44 evergreen lemons. However, the film turned out to be controversial for both critics and viewers. On the review site Rotten Tomatoes, the film rating based on 162 reviews is only 46%, with an average rating of 5 and 5. According to those who left a review, the film turned out to be quite boring and weak, although Johnny himself was highly rated. In fact, his participation was the very factor that saved the film and the entire story from complete failure. On Metacritic, the film has aggregated score of 46 out of 100 based on 30 for critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of C+ on an A+ to F scale. Critics' opinion did not differ much from ordinary viewers' assessments. For example, Roger Ebert said the following: "It could add up to a straight-faced thriller about things that go boo in the night, but Johnny Depp and director David Depp have too much style to let that happen," and he awarded the film 3 stars out of possible 4. But another movie critic, Ian Nathan from Empire magazine, rated the picture only 2 stars out of 5 and said, "The presence of the sublime Depp will be enough to get Secret Window noticed. But even his latest set of rattling eccentricities is not enough to energize this deadbeat parlor trick." So, overall assessment can be summed up as follows: Johnny is great, but the ending of the story is extremely routine and boring. Anyway, in my opinion, movie is not so bad. Well, and it's up to you to decide. What's the plot? Let's figure it out. The main character is a writer-more trainee, Johnny Depp, who lives on the shore of either a lake or a river. His whole life went down. Family has been destroyed. He got his wife in a motel with her lover, so the main hero has been in the process of divorcing from her for 6 months. Moreover, a crazy guy in a silly hat in an old car is accusing him of stealing one of his stories. This is the first serious shake-up for our hero, because his day resembles Groundhog Day. He only eats and sleeps, and writing is generally a complete mess. He dislikes everything he types, and he constantly deletes it from his computer. This is John Shooter. He accuses Depp's character of plagiarism, and it would be okay to just steal the idea, characters or concept of the story. The situation is much more complicated. At the first meeting of Morton John, the latter gives him manuscript, which repeats the text of the story word for word. And he doesn't only want recognition, but also in a rather aggressive form demands an apology and refutation from Depp's character. Moore tries to remember the circumstances of writing the story, even calls his wife to clarify how and when he created the work. What if he actually used someone else's idea? Finding out all the facts, Moore found out that he has written his story 2 years earlier than Shooter, and even published it in a magazine. So he just need to find the very first publication, and that's all. However, it's not that simple. John Shooter turns out to be an outright psychopath. He kills Mort's dog, then sets fire to his ex-wife's house, and removes all the witnesses who could have seen him and indicates his characteristics to the police. The situation is heating up. The shooter will stop at nothing to prove he's right. This is where the story comes to its end. So, what the end of the movie? I definitely won't tell you this. So, run and watch the movie. And we go on. Sweeney Todd, The Demon Barber of Fleet Street is a musical drama thriller movie adaptation of the 1979 musical. This is one of the most legendary movies on my list. Take a look. Directed by Tim Burton, starring Johnny Depp, Helena Bonham Carter, Alan Rickman, as well as Timothy Spall, Sacha Baron Cohen, and Jamie Campbell Bower. And songs! They are singing there. The music in this film is a masterpiece and an orgasm for the ears. But let's take it in order. The whole plot of the story is based on the fact that a man returns to London. He introduces himself as Sweeney Todd. Later, we learn that he's lived here. He had a wife and a little daughter. The main character was the happiest person on the earth. But his main mistake, according to himself, was naivety and stupidity. He was so serene and blind that he did not notice the trouble hanging over him, his wife, and his daughter. Judge Turpin had his eye on the protagonist's wife, Lucy. She captivated with her extraordinary beauty, blonde, golden hair falling over her shoulders, large and kind eyes looking at the world with love and tenderness. And the heroine's soul was pure and innocent. She was like an angel who descended to the earth, illuminated everything around with her light. Using his unlimited power, the judge convicted Todd and locked him in prison away from London. And at this time he showed signs of attention to Todd's grief-stricken wife. He gave flowers, came every day under her window, and offered to enter into a relationship with him. But Lucy was adamant. She loved only one and was faithful to him. Todd learns about the future fate of his wife from Mrs. Lovett, the owner of the bakery on the first floor of the house in which the main character and his family happily lived many years ago. She told him about his wife's attempts to rescue her husband from captivity and went to the judge. He was ready to admit his mistake and help with the review of her husband's case. But when the woman came to his house, she discovered that a masquerade ball was taking place there. She was deliberately drugged, and the judge, taking advantage of the situation, abused the unfortunate woman. Unable to bear such shame, Lucy took poison and died. Mrs. Lovett immediately recognized the thin, gloomy, and emaciated man as the same barber who lived on the second floor and called his real name, Benjamin Barker. However, this was a completely different person. The owner of the bakery took the man to the second floor and gave him his old razors, which had once served him faithfully for his work, but would now become an instrument of retribution in the hands of a man who had lost everything. His soul is corroded by anger, hatred, and the desire for revenge. He lives by the darkness that had accumulated in him all these years. The first murder wasn't long in coming. A man who pretended to be an Italian barber was killed by Sweeney Todd. Why so? It's very simple. He recognized Benjamin Barker, and he began to blackmail him by revealing his real name to the judge and asking for half of the proceeds. Well, he left no choice to Sweeney Todd. He grabbed the first thing that came to his hand, a kettle from the stove, and beat the barber half to death with it. And finally, he cut his throat. Where can the corpse be hidden? And then Mrs. Lovett comes up with an idea that would chill normal person's blood. To make meat pies out of him. So a couple of murderers was born. He killed and she made mincemeat from the bodies for her treats. He took moral pleasure from murders and she helped hide his crimes. However, in parallel with Sweeney's storyline, another story is developing too. A young sailor, Anthony Hope, who had noticed Sweeney Todd's raft in the sea and thereby saved him from certain death in the depths of the sea, was looking for an address in the city. A man wanders in the street where Judge Turpin's house is located and notices an unusually beautiful girl in a second-floor window. The young man's heart falls in love with her and she apparently feels the same. As it turns out, this is Joanna, Sweeney Todd's daughter. 15 years ago, after the violence against her mother and the woman's suicide, the judge became the child's guardian and locked her in his house. And now he intends to marry her. Throughout the entire film, these two storylines run parallel, but then, over time, they become more and more intertwined with each other. And how will the story end? Sweeney falls further into his madness. He cannot stop. He kills and kills. Moreover, completely innocent people, ordinary citizens on whom he takes out his anger. The plot is getting tired, the atmosphere is heating up and events are accelerating. It seems that there will be an explosion at any moment. And there's one thing. During the story, a crazy tramp periodically appears. Whether she accidentally gets into the frame or carries some meaning, you also have to find out. But I won't tell you the ending. I'll just give you advice. If you have strong nerves and rivers of blood, violence and mincemeat don't stop you, then be sure to watch this movie. And in addition, you will get the opportunity to enjoy a gorgeous musical design, brilliant acting, especially Johnny, Helena and Alan, and also gothic 20th century England and the dark aesthetics of Tim Burton. My definite recommendation. The Night's Gate is one of my favorite movies starring Johnny Depp. This is a mystical thriller directed by Roman Polanski based on the novel The Dumas Club or The Shadow of Richelieu by Arturo Perez Reverte. The movie premiered on August 25, 1999 and grossed $58 million. So, let's go a little through the plot of the movie. So, that's the story of Dean Corso, of course played by Johnny, an expert and bookseller who searches the rare publications to order and sell them on the black market. A wealthy collector from the US, Boris Balkan, approaches Depp's hero to help him confirm the authenticity of his book or get the original. So, Dean travels to Europe for searching. And everything would be fine. But the book that Depp is trying to identify isn't very simple. It can call Lucifer to the earth, and the person who would manage to do this will be gifted with supernatural abilities. The story proclaims there are 9 engravings made with the participation of Lucifer. They are contained in the 3 surviving copies of a book published by Aristide Torture in 1666 entitled The Ninth Gate to the Realm of Ghosts. All publications are in private collectors' libraries. The engravings contain a mystery, a certain code or cipher. If you solve it, you can go through all 9 gates of hell and call Lucifer to earth. Dean accepts the job. The amount on the check that he's got is impressive. The customer promises to double it in a successful case. The work doesn't seem dusty, but as soon as our hero begins to study the received spiceman, strange events begin to occur. Also, they had happened before that. The book was acquired by Boris Balkan just before its previous owner's suicide. It turns out that Dean is being watched. His apartment was searched. Dean's friend, Bernie, who hid a copy of The Ninth Gate in his bookstore, was killed. Someone tried to kill the main character several times. Depp's hero suspects previous owners of mystical antique book wife. A mysterious stranger comes to the hero's aid, saving his ass from several scrapes and helping him find the Satanists. Her name isn't revealed in the film, and sometimes it seems that she has some kind of superpowers. There is simply no other way to explain her appearance at the most critical moments for Dean. During the investigation, Depp's character learns from 2 restorer brothers that for the ritual it is necessary to collect all 9 engravings together, and Balkan manages to do this, but he dies while trying to perform the ritual. It turns out that one of the engravings was fake. Dean Corso, by the way, tried to stop him, but the event interfered with the course of events. Strange, isn't it? I'd also like to note that the movie has a lot of symbolism and science that try to suggest a solution to the viewer before the very end of the story. Whether Depp's character has found his ninth engraving or not, and has he met Lucifer on the Earth, you will have to learn watching the movie. And we move on. This was the first part of my ranking of the movies with Johnny Depp for Halloween. Thank you all so much for watching. If you reckon this video good, then like it and be sure to subscribe to my channel, so as not to miss the continuation. And write in the comments which movie from this rating you love the most with Johnny. And we'll see you soon, my little bloody thirsty creatures.